Good morning, guys, or good afternoon, whether you're joining me from the present or the future. Welcome back to another Future Fight Vanguard video. It has been a while, but I'm back. I had to handle a few things, but now we are back to crushing our videos. So we're going to be playing catch-up for maybe a week or so while we get caught up on all the deck lists that I didn't do yet, because I don't want to leave that space of not having the content on my channel for someone to be able to check out should they want to go back and check out a deck from a previous set or something like that. So we're going to cover all the future fights that we haven't done already and then do all the newer ones as well. So with that being said, let's get right into it. I also came up with a little bit of a more creative way to do these sets of future fights so that you guys are a bit more entertained, at least while the way that I'm doing it is relevant. You guys will see what I'm talking about here momentarily. But let's get right into the video here. We're going to be talking about V-EB08 Granblue today. So this is the My Glorious Justice Granblue deck. Obviously, you know, this deck mills a lot more than the old version does. So I like to say, as a happy medium joke, that this deck sucks. But I don't really mean that this deck sucks when I say that it sucks. I mean that I don't like decks personally that mills me out. And I don't like losing from deck out. Anyone that knows me knows that my least favorite way to lose is getting DQ'd because of something in a tournament, like a deck check or something like that. And then the second way, actually in game, is just decking out. So if I can avoid it, I will try to put ways into my deck to avoid decking out. But Granblue Standard just doesn't really have that. They have so many cards that mill so fast. So we took out a lot of the options that mill really fast in an attempt to try to stabilize the deck. But let's get right into the deck list. But before we do that, if you guys haven't already, be sure to subscribe down below, click the bell button so that you don't have to miss any future videos going forward. Also, there's other options down in the description below as well. If you guys are interested, check out the sponsor, Vision's been sponsoring us. They're a really cool organization focusing on making players better and making the community better as a whole, so definitely check them out. And if you guys want to be ahead in my videos, check out coaching, all that good stuff, my deck list, all that stuff, then that's in the Patreon down below as well. So if you guys want to check that out, go do so. But let's get right into it. So we're running 4 Ice Prison Necromancer Cocytus. So Cocytus is obviously our main grade 3. However, you don't want to, as far as other decks, you want to be on your main grade 3 for the entire game. But for Cocytus, you don't want to be on your main grade 3 the entire game, and here's why. Because Cocytus is the card that mills you out really quickly, because every time you use its skill you have to mill 4, and there's no in between. It doesn't give you an option or optional not to do it, which would be so cool if it did, but it doesn't. So you definitely want to be able to accurately gauge, if you're playing this deck, when it's time to ride into something else or go for another option instead of being on Cocytus, so that you don't deck yourself out. But let's talk about Cocytus' 2 abilities. One is a continuous Vanguard ability, and the other one is an act Vanguard ability. So the continuous says, during your turn, if your drop zone has 10 or more cards, this card gets plus 10,000 power. Obviously, pretty simplistic, pretty easy. If you have 10 cards or more, it gets plus 10. If it has 20 cards or more, then you get plus 20, and you get plus 1 critical. So then it becomes 32k with 2 crit at 20 plus cards in the drop zone. So that will be obviously pretty deep in the game, pretty late in the game. You'll probably only have 1 or 2 consistent turns where you're able to take advantage of the 20k and crit. All the other times it'll be the 10k, so just be aware of that. The act skill that we were talking about previously is Counterblast 1 and put 4 cards from the top of your deck into the drop zone, so mill 4, and then you call up to the number of cards from your drop zone as grade 3s in your soul plus 2. So basically, if we have no grade 3s in our soul, then we just get the just call 2. But if we have 2 grade 3s in the soul, or 3 grade 3s in the soul, we get to call 4, 5, 6, whatever amount plus 2. So something that really actually helps you out with that is riding Danny Romario as your first grade 1 ride. We'll get into that when we get down there as well. Going into our next grade 3, we have a Dragon Undead Skull Dragon. This is forever, since Granblue came out, been one of its more consistent finishing options. Skull Dragon attacks for really big the later the game goes on, because it gets power for every single card in your drop zone. So a couple things to note about this card: obviously it has a continuous hand ability, saying this card cannot be normal called, so you cannot guard with this card in any way, shape, or form. It cannot be placed down on the Guardian Circle, and it cannot be placed down on Rear Guard Circle. So obviously you want to use it for PG fodder to get into the drop zone if it's in your hand, or, you know, really just PG fodder, or like a discard ability, kind of similar to Greed Shade. So if you have it for Greed Shade or you have it for a PG, definitely use it for that, because otherwise it's dead in your hand. Like I said before, on Vanguard Rear Guard Circle, it does get 2,000 power for each card in your drop zone. So let's say that you have reached Cocytus requirements and you're at 20 cards in drop, then you will actually be gaining 40k power with Skull Dragon, which means that would be 52. A lot of decks have trouble blocking attacks that big, so definitely be able to pressure your opponent in the late game with that, especially if you're checking crits. And then at its last ability is at the end of the battle that it attacked, you retire this unit. So this is another cool ability because your opponent can't like bind it or something if they're playing Narukami, or it's not left on the board for something to happen to it, like Link Joker bind or Narukami bind. It also, if you have 2 Skull Dragons, if you attack with 1, you could potentially change the guard number of this stage over here, because that'll be yet another card in your drop zone. Also, if you have like 19 cards in the drop zone and then you attack with Skull Dragon, you retire it, and then Cocytus comes online, that's cool too. So another note is, be aware that since this card can't be normal called, that does not mean that it cannot be ridden. Some people like kind of confuse the two things, but you can ride this card, and you can ride the ghost ship that has the same ability as well. They just cannot be called to the Rear Guard Circle, and they cannot be called to the Guard Circle from your hand. Moving on to the next 3, we have 2 Violence Ranger. Violence Ranger, another good finisher that has been in the deck since the beginning of Granblue Standard. It has an Act Vanguard Rearguard skill that says Soul Blast 1 grade 3 and discard any number of cards from your hand. This card gets plus 5,000 power, and then to the end of the battle, your opponent cannot guard with Sentinels or with the same grade as the card that you discarded. So basically, if you use Violence Ranger skill and you discard a 0, a 1, and a 2, the only thing that your opponent can do effectively is intercept. And if you make a bigger number than what they can intercept with, that's just a free damage. So if you do this at 5 damage, it's literally just an auto win unless your opponent heals out of it. So very, very good. Obviously creates an auto win condition when it's on the board and your opponent's at 5 damage. So definitely use that to your advantage. Then we're running 1 King of Demonic Seas Baskirk. We're running 1 Baskirk because basically there's no reason to run more than 1. Baskirk used to be the boss card of this deck, but since it's now Cocytus, we really only want to ride Baskirk when it's later in the game and we're about to deck out, or we only have like 10 or less cards in the deck or something like that. So definitely be aware of your status in the game, your deck count, all that stuff. Unlike playing online or unlike playing on EX, like we don't have a deck count right in front of us in real life. So definitely if you're playing this deck in real life, like keep track of your deck count. I promise you it will matter a lot. Especially when you get into those clutch situations where, you know, you're just 1 or 2 cards away from decking out when you win the game. So Baskirk's 2 abilities are kind of like a weaker version of Cocytus, but the first ability says during your turn, if your drop zone has 10 or more cards, it gets 5k and a crit. So it takes 5k, which is half than Cocytus's 10k, or sorry, 10 or more cards in drop zone requirement, but it also gains a crit. So that's really important towards the late game too, because this card becomes big with a crit, which you want to, you know, supplement that with Cocytus if Cocytus had a crit from having 20k or having the 20 or more cards in drop. The secondary ability is Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, and then you call a card from your drop zone to rearguard, and this card gets plus 5,000 for each grade of that unit. So really in the late game, you only want to be using this ability to call like Skull Dragon or Violence Ranger. Therefore Baskirk can get 15k, and then they'll be having 20k and a crit, which will equal it out to Cocytus in the end of things. And then you'll also have a, you know, a swole Skull Dragon on the board, or like a really big Violence Ranger on the board. That's good as well. That puts pressure on your opponent. Moving into the grade 2s, we have 4 Greed Shade. Greed Shade is one of our newer cards from My Glorious Justice. This card is really, really, really good, really solid. It has a Vanguard Rearguard ability saying during your turn, if your drop zone has 10 or more cards, then this card gets plus 5,000 power. So obviously not that useful on Vanguard Circle, because on grade 2 you're not going to have 10 or more cards in your drop unless something extravagant happens, like you guys have been playing the grade 1 game for turns for some reason. But it's not going to have that usually. On the rear guard, it's just a small like oof up or like a small guard stage up. You're really not going to have this card like to attack with for that long because you're going to intercept it off for your better attackers. But it's what makes it really important is its rear guard on place ability. So its rear guard on place ability is when placed, discard a card from your hand, you mill 2, and then you get to put any card not named Greed Shade from your drop zone into your hand. So this allows you to get any piece that you need, theoretically a PG, you know, whether that be 15k or a 20k shield, may it be a booster that you need, if you need a Cocytus to ride next turn. Like, you can literally get anything as long as it's in your drop zone. So ultimate toolbox card, really, really good. Moving on, we have 3 Captain Night Mist. Captain Night Mist is a really good card as well because there are times that you don't actually want to mill to call out cards, and almost every other option for calling cards in this deck requires milling. So having a card that just requires a counterblast and doesn't require mill is really, really good. But Captain Night Mist skill is when placed counterblast 1 and call a grade 1 or less card from your drop zone and rear guard, and then if you have 10 or more cards in your drop zone, you may call any grade. So basically, once you're past that threshold of having 10 or more cards in your drop zone, which is theoretically like all the time in this deck now that it mills so fast, you can call any single card that you want, which is really, really good, especially in the late game. So I would hold these in your late game, hold these in your hand until the late game, and I would also hold Basskirk as well. Whenever you see that Basskirk, snatch it up, hold it to the late game. Then, finishing out our grade 2s, we have 3 Stormride Ghost Ship. So, obviously, just like Ghoul Dragon over here, or Skull Dragon, you cannot call it from your hand, and you cannot call it to guard circle either. It cannot be normal called in any way. And then it has a rear guard ability, so this card is like a mini Skull Dragon. When it attacks, this card gets plus 15k power until the end of the battle, and then at the end of the battle you draw a card and you retire this unit. So this card is literally like a Skull Dragon, except it hits for less at some points in the game. So you basically want to use the ship in the early points of the game to like thin out your deck, but also be like milling and drawing cards from your deck. So it gives you card advantage, and it pluses you, hits your opponent for big, and then you can use it in the early game. I would not suggest using this card in the late game, however, because even if you don't have Skull Dragon and you don't have a good target, I would still call something like Greed Shade or something, because in the late game, like, chances are your deck is already low, so drawing a card and milling a card, it makes you +2 deeper into your deck, and you really don't want to do that in the late game. So moving on to our grade 1s, we have 4 Dandy Guy Romario as our initial grade 1 ride target. Like I mentioned before when I was talking about Cocytus, this card makes Cocytus really good just because of the on-ride skill. But let's talk about its rear guard continuous skill first. If you have 10 or more cards in a drop, this card gets plus 4,000 power, so it becomes a 12k booster. Obviously really relevant against Force, makes your numbers way bigger than they would be, and obviously changes the guard step or a guard stage in most case scenarios. Then when it's rode upon, like when you ride from grade 1 to grade 2 and your grade 1 was Standard Guy Romario, you can counterblast 1 and put a card from your hand into Soul. You mill 3, and then you get to choose any card from your drop zone to add to your hand. Now the reason that Romario is really good is for a couple reasons. One, the cost. If you counterblast 1 and you shove a card from your hand to Soul, since you can shove any card from your hand to Soul, you can get rid of cards like Skull Dragon or Ghost Ship that you don't really need that are useless in your hand anyways. Also, if that card happens to be a grade 3, you're setting up really nicely for Cocytus' first ride, because then you're going to get to call 3 cards instead of just 2. So it sets you up really well. Also, you get any card from your drop zone back. So let's say that I don't have a grade 3 in my hand, I ride grade 2, and then I shove I don't know, let's say I have a grade 3 that I don't want to ride specifically in my hand. So let's say that I ride a Greed Shade, and then with Romario's skill, I counterblast 1 and I put a Skull Dragon in the Soul, and I mill 3, and then that 3 that I mill, there's a Cocytus. So now I'm able to grab that Cocytus, and I fix my hand, and I set up great for the rest of the game just because of that. Moving on to our next grade 1, we have 4 Ripple Banshee. Ripple Banshee says when placed from drop zone, Soul Blast 1, draw a card, and this card gets plus 4,000 power. Obviously, this card's really good. It nets you advantage. just for a soul blast. Also gets things out of your soul that you don't want to be in there. So if you are later in the game and you don't want that skull dragon to be in your soul anymore, that you've been using this whole time for Cocytus, you have that option, as well as plussing. Also, this card, when it's in your hand, just becomes a good guard block just because you know that it activates in the drop zone. So that's one thing that I can say about Granblue in general, is that blocking early or blocking in general, like, you don't have to worry about blocking with your pieces because you can call everything and anything that you want from drop zone or get it back with Greed Shade if you need it as well. Then we're running 4 Dolph the Ghosty. This is our PG. It also has another Vanguard ride skill that says when placed, draw a card, discard a card. So if you can't ride Dandy Guy or Mario, definitely ride the PG just to get yourself a little, like, break even, but also fix your hand sometimes, just depending on what the scenario is. And then we have a 1-of open space in the deck, and I decided to put in 1 Pat the Ghosty. So this card's really, really good in my opinion, just because when you don't have access to your PGs or you're being guard restricted, this card just becomes really, really good. It's a 15k shield grade 1. It also has a drop zone ability that says during the battle that your opponent's Vanguard attack, if your drop zone has 10 or more cards, you can call this card to guard circle. So basically you can call a 15k guard. Like, let's say that you're just randomly milling the entire time, and the chances that you mill this are actually pretty high instead of drawing it because you mill so much. So once you mill this card, you will actively be able to use it, and if it comes to your hand, that's a 15k shield that you can use that's not a trigger, so you don't mind it being in your hand or something like that, versus your triggers where you want them to be in your deck. Then for our starter, we're running 1 Captain Night Mist, and then for our triggers, we're running 12 crit and 4 heal. So that's pretty self-explanatory in of itself. And with that being said, we're going to switch right over to the games portion, which we are doing on Cardfight EX, so stay tuned as we switch. So as you guys can see here, we have, you know, the deck list that we were just discussing here on EX. So we're going to try to find some online games against actual people. Oh snap.
1 eternity later.
Finally, someone exists. Let's get it. We found a match. Alright, we're gonna pick rock here. Our opponent picks scissors, so we're up first. Alright, so our opening hand is kind of trash, but we're just gonna put back these 2 grade 0s and try to work with what we got. So we're playing against an Narukami, which is obviously gonna mean like we want to go protect 1 because protect 2 is gonna be absolutely useless. So we're gonna ride grade 1 and pass turn. The person rides Rising Phoenix. You call Bolt Capture. Bolt Capture can't really do anything. So right here we're going to guard with this crit for a no pass. It does get a front trigger, so attack doesn't pass, but front is added to rear guard, which absolutely means that we are not going to be blocking the rear guard. We damage check a Greed Shade. That would have been pretty cool to have actually, so I'm kind of sad about that. But we draw, and let's ride the ghost ship because we wouldn't be able to do anything else with it. And then let's keep the other things that we have in our hand because there's no real reason to try to extend for that right now. So let's attack Vanguard for 9. Our opponent no guards. We get a PG. They damage tech a Rising Phoenix, so I'm going to have to be careful when they heal, obviously, because that will be able to call a Rising Phoenix. Opponent rides Cho-Oh. Moves Bolt Capture back to call another Cho-Oh. Man, actually has a soul hand. So he attacks us, we're gonna go ahead and guard. Attacks with Vanguard. Again, we're gonna go ahead and guard. He didn't check any triggers, so that's cool. Right now, we're just filling our drop zone by doing our attacks. So now we're gonna guard for 19. And these are just all cards that we want in our drop zone, so we don't really care. So stand and draw, we drew a crit. Unfortunately, we have to ride Violence Franger. But we can call out Captain Night Mist and use a skill. Counterboss 1 to call out a Banshee. Hopefully the Banshee draw gets us into something good. So it got us into a Gold Dragon, which I guess is a different grade 3, but still kind of trash right now. So let's see how we can work this. So we're attacking Vanguard for 24. Drive check, we checked a critical trigger, crit to Vanguard, power to rearguard. And we get another Ghost Ship, which is really not good. But now we have something to discard with the PG in our hand that's not the dragon, so that can be okay as well. So our opponent has 6 cards in hand, we have 5. Either he takes the 4th damage right here, or he gives us the card going down to equal hand to us. We end our turn. Our opponent goes and rides Gauntlet Buster, to be expected. Excel 2, draws a card. So our opponent calls the Gauntlet Buster to rearguard, which is interesting. I wonder if he's lacking a way to bind a card, so he kind of must one, discard 1 just to get one of my cards. I'll completely take that because that's one more card out of his hand. He attacks our Vanguard for 3 crit. We're actually going to no-guard it in hopes that we get a damage trigger, which will automatically block the other 2 attacks. And it's not lethal unless he checks 2 crit, so obviously he didn't check 2 crit there. So now we have 3 chances to check a damage trigger. So there's 1. Like I said. 2, we didn't need that, but crit. Higher Vanguard. Wow, we're super wasting all of our triggers right now. In that case, I wish he checked double front or something like that. But most likely our opponent's just gonna pass right now because they can't do anything. We do draw Greed Shade, so that's fire. So let's go ahead and ride the Gold Dragon, just to help set up more so for when we get Cocytus. And then we are going to actually play this Greed Shade using the skill to discard the Ghost Ship and mill 2. And we can't get a Greed Shade even though we milled a Greed Shade, so we are actually gonna go for getting the PG here. Other than that, our hand just tells us to attack, really. So we're attacking for 32 to Vanguard. No guards. We do check a critical trigger. Crit to Vanguard, power to rearguard. I was gonna go wild if that was another crit. Alright, our opponent checks damage checks, front trigger. Ouch. Oof, draw trigger as well. And he puts it on Showo, yep, so that I can't hit anything with Greed Shade. Smart option. And then I'm just gonna end my turn there. Our hand actually has really sucked this entire game. Like, this is not normal. So it goes into Daytonic's Drill, which is obviously a better option against Force anyways. Or sorry, against Protect 1 anyways. Calls a Cho-Oh. Calls a Gaibon. That card's super threatening to Protect deck, so we're gonna have to be careful what we guard here and with what. And then calls a calls whatever this card is called, Zuiton. So he has 4 cards in hand, attacking us for 14. We're gonna go ahead and intercept with this because otherwise it would just get bound anyways. So right now we're being attacked for 12. I'm just gonna no guard it because I don't think they run crits, and we would highly like the chance to check a damage trigger. He does check a draw trigger though, adding a PG to his hand and drawing a card. So he puts all of the effects on Gauntlet. We check a damage. Yep, we got a damage trigger, so that's really good because now we avoid a lot of unnecessary attacks. So yep, the Tonic Strobe restands, gains 5k. Gaibon will put its skill on something, giving 3k to something. Probably to the Gauntlet Buster, honestly. Oh, okay, they chose to give it to Vanguard. It's interesting. And they're using Cho's skill to restand. They must think that they're going to hit a front trigger. Or they're really hoping on the fact that they will. So we can't PG this attack, so we're just going to go ahead and no pass it. So our opponent didn't hit a front or any kind of trigger, so that's really good. We avoid a lot with that. Gaibon skill now goes to Gauntlet Buster, I assume. Yep. Hopefully we like top deck Cocytus next turn or something, because this is looking pretty rough right now. Like, we don't have a Night Mist or any way to call out our cards, so either Cocytus or Baskirk. We draw. Alright, so I mean we didn't get what we wanted, but we got a Night Mist, so that's cool. So let's go ahead and call Night Mist. And then increase our hand by yeah, calling the ghost ship. And let's go ahead and do it just like that. Let's go ahead and attack this Cho-Oh that's on Excel Circle. We already know that he's gonna PG Vanguard, so hopefully we can live one more turn, because I think that's what it's gonna take ultimately to kill him. Attack for 38 to Vanguard. There's the PG. If we check a trigger, we could at least drain one card, or sorry, drain 2 cards out of his hand, so hopefully we can do that. Check 1 Cocytus, where have you been all my life? And check 2, yeah, we didn't check a trigger, so next turn's going to be rough indeed, because we also can't take a damage like we did last turn. But we attack with Ghost Ship for 24. And guard with the front trigger. Ghost Ship retires itself and we draw a card. The card that we drew is a Cocytus. Oh my god, so We do have 3 PGs in our hand and fodder, but he has like 5 attacks, possibly 6. Use Death Scythe to bind my card, which I'm kind of like, okay. Could have just done that with Drill, but you know. I guess he wanted to increase the number of that column as well. And also because of Zuiton, it gets 5k, and the Rearguard Gauntlet Buster got 5k as well. So he attacked me for 12. I'm low-key thinking about taking it because I don't think I can survive otherwise. Let's see, PG. Yeah, we're gonna have to take it and hope for a heal. Yep, we did not get it, so unfortunately we lose that one, but that game was very irregular, and we normally wouldn't start with a hand like that. I feel like even if we had put back more cards, like that could be an argument, but even if we had put back more cards, there might be the possibility that we just drew into more triggers, so. Alright, on to looking for match 2.
2,000 years later.
Alright, we found match 2. The MC, the Vanguard MC. So we're gonna go with Rock again. Our opponent went with Scissors again, so we're going first. This time we have a much more solid hand. Although we do hope that Romario was in it. We are playing against Murakumo, but we're getting to go first. Oh, nice, and there's Romario right on time. So we get to ride Romario and pass our turn. So he rides that card that can switch with an Excel Circle card. So he draws, he attacks us for 8, we no guard it, he checks a Hayaki, which means this is obviously Hyuga Hayaki variant build. We check a heal trigger, kind of useless right now, but whatever. Hopefully we draw grade 3. We didn't draw grade 3. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we are going to ride Greed Shade, use Romario skill, counterboss 1, and put. Let's go ahead and put the Night Mist into the soul. We milled 3. We milled literally 2 triggers and a PG. Let's go ahead and grab the crit trigger just because we're playing against Excel. We want to have it around definitely. We're gonna call this Romario here, and then we are going to get at it. Attack for 17. That was the hardest no guard I've ever heard, bruh. Man said no gado, but we did check a crit, so we're doing 2 damage. Amazing. Damage check 1 front trigger. Okay, so we know that he does run fronts. Usually Kuma runs crit, so to see that is really cool. But he also got a draw trigger, so not as cool for us. Sad face. Alright, our opponent rides Mayomaru, calls Jakotu Girl. So I'll tell you guys, I'm straight up one of those people who does not care about Jakotu Girl being able to search them cards. I will, you know, take Jakotu Girl all day, honestly. Or sorry, I'll block Jakotu Girl all day if I need to. In this case, he did heal, and we do need a counter boss to use Kokaitis for the next turn. So we're just gonna go ahead and no guard Jakotu Girl, which works out in our favor because Jakotu Girl's skill as well. Damage check, critical trigger, crit to Vanguard, power to Vanguard. Alright, he ends his turn. We draw. Our hand is actually pretty crappy, so hopefully we get some pretty good mills off Kokaitis. This is like one of the only times where I actually appreciate Kokaitis' mill. So let's go ahead and use Kokaitis' skill. Mill 4, call 2. Okay, so not completely awful, but let's call Skull Dragon and Captain Knight Miss. And then we're gonna keep these in our hand and go ahead and go on the assault. So we're attacking for 9. Sorry, opponent's thinking. They have 8 cards in their hand. We have 6. So by the end of the turn, we should have more cards in them, which is always the goal. You want to like check that you're measuring advantage when you're fighting someone. So they no guard the Vanguard attack. We check a Romario and a crit, hopefully. Nope. But we did get pieces, so that's good. Got our little animation for Kokaitis landing an attack. Takes the damage, no trigger. And then we attack for 22. And they guard with the front that we saw them check. Alright. Oh, that was in the front that I saw them check. That was a damage trigger. Just remember that. But so he guarded with another front. Alright, so he rides Hyuga. So we here, boys. The game gets real hard from here. Oh, he's using Hyuga's skill immediately. Interesting. Alright, Superior calls it Jakotsu Girl. Interesting. Calls a Hayaki. I feel like he could have chose a much more aggressive option of a turn to go with, but he chose this, so, you know, it is what it is. Jakotsu Girl skill, top 7 for Shiriki. Let's see if he gets it. He did not get it, so he soul charges. Card that he soul charges a heal trigger, so that's amazing for us. Let's go ahead and 2 to pass Vanguard while we can. Checks the Shiryuki that he wanted. And it also checks a Mayamaru. So he attacks us for 17. We're gonna go ahead and take that. A Kokaitis says damage check. And then our Vanguard's being attacked for 17, so let's go hard and give him a 10k. Alright, stand and draw. We are not going to re-ride, so let's go ahead and end that right there. But then we're going to use Kokaitis' skill. Mill 4. Obviously, let's go for the ghost ship and Banshee. Use Banshee skill to mill 1 and draw. And then we are going to call Danigairo Mario right here. So seeing as our drop zone has 11 cards in it, we're not going to go for attacking with the ghost ship first because it won't change anything. And it's bigger in this case scenario. And then we attack for 34. Our opponent no guards. We check a critical trigger. Amazing crit to Vanguard, power to rear guard. This will force the Kumo player to start guarding a lot more seriously, because that's when Granblue gets dangerous. Is that highish damage. Damage check 1, nothing. Damage check 2, nothing. Ooh, I know the probability is high of them probably taking this last attack because it is pretty big at us sitting at 46. Also, it's very possible that the Murakumo Hyuga player could have a fake hand, so there's that too. They just checked the front trigger. Ghost ships into battle skill, retire draw. And their turn. We have 10 cards in our hand. Does he have another Hyuga to ride? He does. Wow, blessed. So calls Mayamaru. Uses the skill of Hyuga to call a card. Calls Million Rat, which is interesting to say the least. Million Rat skill to call another card. And he gets -4. Still a weird play to make overall, I think, but to each their own. Hyuga skill, yep, to make me put back all my cards in the deck. That actually helps Granblue, so. Vanguard's gonna attack for 16. I can 2 to pass it. I was hoping that he didn't attack with Mayamaru first. This is also weird that he's not running crits just because I feel like he could take such a bigger advantage of that. But we know past the attack it didn't go through, but he also didn't check any heals, so that's amazing for us. So he attacks for 14. Soul Blasting 1. Everything gets +5. I guard for 22. I get attacked for 27. Block that too. We get attacked for 27, so we're gonna take this one. Critical trigger. Power crit to Vanguard. And then we get attacked by 27 again. We're gonna take it again. Dang, it was 2 criticals. That's unfortunate. Alright, turn in, stand and draw. Nothing useful to ride, so again we're gonna pass there. And then we're gonna use Kokaitis' ability. No 4. So we're gonna go for a double ghost ship here. See if our Baskirk is already into play. So our Baskirk still looks like it's in the deck. Let's go ahead and call Romario here. Becomes a 12k booster. And then the rest of everything else we're gonna keep in our hands. So let's go ahead and attack for 24. Vanguard. Probably gonna guard it with like a front or something. Okay, so Shiryuki. That's cool. That's the only Shiryuki that he can use effectively. And it really won't change any of my numbers to not hitting status, so we're fine with that. And he still does have to give us a 5k. And then we are going to retire draw. And we drew Pat the Ghosty, additional shield, swole, attack for 24. Our opponent guards for 47, making it a no pass. Drive check 1. Drive check 2, nothing. And then our last attack is gonna attack for 14. Maybe intercept. But he also probably wants this Chikotu girl and this Mayomaru, so I don't absolutely know if he will intercept. Oh, he did intercept with the Chikotu girl. And then hopefully we draw our Baskirk here or something like that. We did not. Alright, so you didn't re-ride, so we only have 5 attacks to deal with this turn. He does use Hyuga's skill. What I'm wondering is where's all my 3s? I feel like I haven't seen a Franger, I haven't seen Baskirk. Like, so much of my deck is 3s right now. Uses the skill of Hyuga to call another Hyuga. Everything is 10k, right? Yep. Real swole. He attacks our Vanguard for 40k. We're gonna go ahead and PG that with the Ghost Ship since it's useless in our hand anyways. Please don't check a heal. Alright, we're in business. And he only has 1 card in Soul. Although he can use the Shiryuki card. I wouldn't have used it right there because I still have to guard the rest of his attacks, so I don't know why he went ahead and used it, but you know, whatever, I guess. That makes this a 5k block. He's choosing not to use Mayomaru this turn either. I'm guessing because he wants to do the Shiryuki play. 37. And then his last attack is for 40. We're gonna go ahead and PG that using the Gold Dragon that is useless in our hand anyways. So if we can draw a Cocytus maybe, or not, okay. So we don't have a grade 3 in our soul. So the only thing that we can really do is just try to call cards. So let's hope that we mill a Baskirk in here. Nope, no mill Baskirk. So this time let's just try to go for the kill. We're gonna grab double Skull Dragon. And then we are going to keep the rest of our hand. Let's go to 66. Our opponent uses Shiryuki, like that's actually gonna make a huge difference. I mean, it might, I guess, but the attacks are so big that it's like Shiryuki is not even close to enough guard that you need. Yep, so my opponent just realized that they couldn't guard after using Shiryuki. And then they take that damage. Typical anime style, it's Hyuga. So we do claim the win in that game. And moving on to the next one here. And our last game.
3,000 years later.
Alright, we're going for our third match here. This might be the same guy. Honestly, I don't remember because the names are in Japanese, but this might literally be the exact same guy. We went for rock, paper, then rock, scissors, paper, so then he goes paper. I'm feeling like this might kind of sort of be the same guy. However, we're going to go ahead and put 3 back, hopefully get a 2 here. We did get a 2 and a Cocytus. This hand is amazing. This does look like it's the same guy. since he's playing that Kumo starter and he's playing the MC guy. But our hand is much better this time, so we'll probably be able to accelerate into a win even quicker this time. Alright, our opponent literally rode the same thing as last time. And attacks the same as last time. No guard, same as last time. Alright, checks one of those things. Let's see if we check a heal just like last time. Alright, so we're not down a heal. And when we heal off that pat, it becomes shield for us, so really good. Alright, so we're gonna ride Greed Shade, use a skill over Mario, counter boss 1. We're gonna put this Baskirk in the soul until we need it later. And then we're actually going to grab the Cocytus. And then let's go ahead and call the other Greed Shade. Obviously this ghost ship is useless in our hand, so we're gonna discard that. Mill 2. And I'm gonna go for the Cocytus again, honestly. Play this here, and then let's attack. So attack for 17. Alright, our opponent hits us with that hard no guard. We check a crit. Crit to Vanguard, power to rear guard. Damage check 1. Damage check 2. Cool, no damage checks. So he has to give us at least a 15k shield to block this. Cool. Alright, and we pass turn to our opponent. We're already at a really good start. Ride Center Arrestor. Call Shikotsu Girl. Attacks Vanguard. We're gonna go ahead and no guard that. Does check a draw trigger. Puts it on Shikotsu Girl. I take a damage. It is a critical trigger, so all effects to Vanguard. And then, like I said, we are not afraid of letting the Shikotsu Girl go off, so we're just going to intercept. It's not something I actively fear from this deck. There are a lot scarier things as someone that plays the deck, so. Alright, so stand for turn and draw. We're going to ride our Cocytus Vanguard. Go ahead and get our Protect 1. And then we are going to proceed to counter boss 1 and mill 4 and call 3. Alright, so we're already building up our drop zone really, really fast in this one. So we're going to get double ship and a Greed Shade. So we're going to use Greed Shade skill to drop a Greed Shade. And let's take the heal trigger. And I think we're good right there. So attack for 24. Our opponent no guards. They do not check a damage trigger, and they we hit another Shiryuki on damage, so this is just turning out to be a really good game for us. Attack for 20. No guard. Critical trigger. Can we get one more? One time for the one-time double crit. Close enough, right? Can he even block this though? Let's see what his damage checks are. One might be a heal. However, he's still at 5 damage, so next turn when we ride, like if we just call Violence Franger, it could just be over from that. He does get a draw trigger, so helpful to him. But this is going to be attacking for 44. That's crazy, to 19. Can he block? That is the question. Okay, he can PG. Alright, so he PG drop. Man, he almost died on turn 2 when he's on 2. Crazy. Storm Dragon, we draw. Uses Hyuga skill. Interesting. I would have just played cards before using this because this card requires that you have 3 cards of the same name as your Vanguard. Unless he's going to play a Hyuga from hand on Rearguard Circle. I think that was a dumb move, but... Hayaki Vogue. Yeah, it's like either way you look at it, I think we win next turn unless he checks a heal. Oh, and he's using the skill, but he can only give 2 cards 5k, so he's not drawing a card. Like I said, a huge waste. Goes in the battle phase, attacks me for 17. We're gonna take it. Check 1. Check 2, no heal, please. Alright, we're in business. That Shiryuki can possibly do something to us and make it so that we can't Franger immediately for the win, but we'll see. Is he using Mayamaru? He is. Man, just another reason why he should have just played all the cards that he was going to play first. Let's go ahead and block with this. Let's go ahead and block with this. And let's go ahead and block with this. Obviously, he's going to get Jakotsu Girl's skill off, which I've stated multiple times we don't really care about. He's just going to soul charge. Alright, stand and draw. We are going to ride Kokaitis again. Cool, so we get Protect, and now we're going to use the skill. Discard. Ooh, we could actually... I think we could actually... Yeah, we have 2 Grade 3s in Soul, so we could double Franger. But if he... Yeah, we're not going to do that, though, because he has Shiryuki. So, what we're going to do is we're going to get Violence Franger. How many cards do we have in deck? 16. So we're going to get Violence Franger, Ghost Ship, this card, and this card. Yeah, well, actually, let's also, instead of getting the ship, we're gonna get a Greed Shade so that we can plan for having that Baskert. Just in case this turn doesn't work out. So what we're gonna do first is, this is important order, is Soul Blast out Baskert to draw a card. Then we can do either of these 2 in order. It doesn't matter as long as we don't Soul Blast the 3. Soul Blast draw. Then we're going to use Greed Shade to discard the Ghoul Dragon. mill 2, and then get the Baskirk back to hand. Just to prepare a little bit. We're going to switch the position of these, and then we're going to use Violent Frander skill. Discard a 0 and a 1, because we don't have a 2. And so now he can only guard with 2s. And intercepting. So we're going to attack for 26. He probably will use Shiryuki right here. Yep, calculated. Now the only thing that could screw us up is if he has 2 Shiryukis. He does have 2 in the damage zone, and he's guarding with 1 right now, so... Oh, and he just wasted his 1 intercept that he could have possibly used towards the Franger attack. So we're really going to have to see what he's got here. 34 to Vanguard. With 2 crit, because we are just above the threshold of having 20 cards and drop. Ooh, he guards with a lot of cards in his hand. Trigger, critical trigger, it's over. There's no way that he can guard the Franger column. Most definitely now. Because he would have to guard it with all grade 2s, and that means that he would have to have 4 grade 2s in his hand. And also, that means that he would have to have 4 cards in his hand. He has 3. So we are going to go ahead and seal the deal with Violence Franger. Hit our victory dance before he realizes that he can't guard. There it is, the no guard. Damage check. Oh, there's a 6 damage heal. But can he do it twice? That's the question. He couldn't do it twice. Well, thanks for playing. But yes, I appreciate you guys watching the video. That has been the end of the play of this future fight, which means it's the end of the video. If you guys haven't already, be sure to subscribe down below. Check out all the things down below in the description that I mentioned before, such as Vision and our Patreon, so if you guys want to be videos ahead, stuff like that. But thank you guys for tuning into the video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace, guys.